Okay, good afternoon. Buenos tardes. I'm Lieutenant General Jeff Buchanan, Commander of Army North there in San Antonio. But right now, the Commander of the Joint Forces Land Component Command, who's responsible for directing all federal military operations here in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands in support of FEMA and the governor as we respond to the impact of Hurricane Maria. And with me, I have Mr. Alejandro de la Campa, who's normally the director of all Caribbean operations for FEMA, and up until this date, he's been performing as a federal coordinating officer. And again, we in the military, just so that everybody there understands, we're in direct support of FEMA as they work in support of the governor to respond. Now, I don't know if you want to say anything up front, Alex.
We in FEMA are working very closely with the government of Puerto Rico. As General said, we work on the priorities established by the government of Puerto Rico, by the governor, and then we work in close coordination with all Commonwealth agencies and also with the Department of Defense, led by General Buchanan, and many other federal agencies that are here in Puerto Rico in support of the response and recovery operations to Hurricane Maria.
So with that, I'd like to just turn it over to you all, and we'll try to answer questions as you fire them at us. Yeah, good talking to you, Sig. Yeah, Roy Benavides, that would be Master Sergeant, U.S. Army Special Forces. So I'll answer the first part of your question. Right now we have 13,485 military forces here in Puerto Rico. That was as of this morning. It may have changed by this afternoon. That compares to 12 days ago when I first got here, we had 4,100. And for rotary wing aircraft or helicopters, we had 25 when I first got here, and as of today, we have 72 in support of FEMA. So that gives you a size of the scale. I'll have to defer to Alex on number of non-military forces or FEMA employees that we have here. The question about are we getting into all the towns? We're getting into all the municipalities. So we've got military forces and FEMA reps in every single one of those. We're still challenged to get out into the countryside, away from the headquarters of the municipality, if you will, into some of the smaller villages. And we're limited a little bit by routes and which routes are closed. But as we continue to clear routes, we're making more progress getting there on the ground. In the meantime, we're having to still depend on helicopters to get in and out. And I'll ask Alex if he wants to add some things.
In terms of FEMA, we have 1,300 FEMA employees plus an additional around 2,000 additional federal employees from other federal agencies, in addition to the military personnel that the General indicated. So we are over 15,000, close to 16,000 federal employees supporting the operations in Puerto Rico. Related to the 78 municipalities, yes, we have been able to reach all 78 municipalities. We have been in contact with all the mayors, and we are providing, distributing water and food on a regular basis through regional staging areas that we have established around the island, where the municipalities can pick up food, water, and other commodities. Or in some cases, whenever the municipality doesn't have the capability with trucks or isolated areas, we are also providing directly to the municipalities. all these efforts are done in coordination with the mayors because they are the ones that know the locations and where do they have families that may not be reachable by ground because they have landslides or bridges that have collapsed. So this is a total collaboration between the federal government, the Commonwealth government, and also the municipalities. And I would like to add also a very important part here, the non-governmental organizations. There are over 60 private non-profit organizations, non-governmental, that are doing an outstanding job here in Puerto Rico, to the point that among all of them, they're providing close to 100,000 meals, whole meals on a daily basis that are being distributed around the island, around the municipalities. And everything is done in coordination with DOD, with us in FEMA, to make sure that we reach all the areas where they need the most the food and the water.
Back to your the last part of your question about our use of Navy row ships, roll-on, roll-off ships. I don't know the answer. I know we've got a lot of support coming in here from both Navy and civilian barges that are moving a significant amount of supplies and military equipment in here. The types of ships, you know, what specific type of naval ship, I don't know what we have. I'd have to defer to the commander of our 3rd Expeditionary Sustainment Command, Brigadier General Chris Mohan, who I've charged with running all of our sustainment operations. Okay.
I'm sorry, which
part?
Ok, lo digo yo en español. En estos momentos el general Buchanan indicó que hay sobre 13,000 efectivos militares en Puerto Rico. En adición, FEMA tenemos sobre 1,300 personas y hay cerca de 2,000 empleados federales adicionales de un sinnúmero de otras agencias que colaboran con nosotros en el día a día para apoyar al gobierno de Puerto Rico. Nosotros, en coordinación con la Agencia Estatal para Manejo de Emergencia, al gobierno de Puerto Rico, hemos estado distribuyendo comida y agua a través de los 78 municipios. Y esta coordinación se hace con los alcaldes, que son los que conocen bien sus áreas geográficas y saben dónde están las personas que necesitan comida y necesitan agua, y lo estamos haciendo en coordinación estrecha con ellos. Tenemos también 10 zonas regionales donde también distribuimos los recursos que tenemos para los municipios, y muchos municipios van a esas zonas regionales a recoger comida y agua. Los que no tienen la capacidad porque no tienen los camiones o las rutas han sido afectadas por deslizamiento, estamos llevando nosotros directamente, y gracias al Departamento de la Defensa se está llevando también en helicóptero a algunas áreas donde no hay carreteras disponibles en estos momentos porque han sido afectadas. Esto es un trabajo en equipo, y quiero destacar la labor también de las entidades sin fines de lucro. Hay 60 lo que se llaman NGOs, Non-Governmental Organizations, que están dando apoyo y colaborando con nosotros, el gobierno federal, el gobierno de Puerto Rico y los municipios, donde diariamente están proveyendo sobre 100,000 comidas calientes a través de toda la isla en las áreas más necesitadas, y todo esto se hace en coordinación con los esfuerzos que estamos haciendo en el gobierno federal.
Gracias. Your Spanish is a little better than mine.
Another question. Ya en estos momentos se está normalizando más la distribución de comida y de agua. Estamos llegando a los 78 municipios. Sí, me gustaría recalcar que uno de los retos más grandes que hemos tenido en la respuesta al huracán María ha sido la falta de comunicación electrónica. Uno sale del área metropolitana y los teléfonos celulares, los teléfonos no funcionan. Y eso hace difícil el que haya una comunicación efectiva con los alcaldes, incluso con nuestro personal, cuando sale del área, porque tienen que estar utilizando teléfonos satelitales. Así que este evento, que es catastrófico en Puerto Rico, es sin duda el mayor evento catastrófico en la historia de Puerto Rico, de nuestra era moderna. El no tener electricidad, ahora mismo está solamente el 16% de los clientes tienen electricidad, y el no tener forma de comunicarse efectivamente ha sido uno de los retos mayores que hemos tenido. Poco a poco se está restableciendo el sistema eléctrico, se está restableciendo las comunicaciones, y una vez eso ya llegue a un punto que sea satisfactorio, pues la respuesta va a ser mucho más efectiva de lo que hemos estado haciendo hasta ahora.
Gracias.
Just for clarification, when you talked about clearing the roads, that's just talking about the debris that's piled up, correct?
Well, it's actually two different things. Route clearance really means, we're out there either plowing away mud off the road that's occurred there because of a landslide, or potentially getting out with chainsaws and cutting up trees that are crossing the road and just moving the debris off to the side of the road. That's not the same thing as debris removal. That's a different task, and we usually do that not with military forces. We use military forces to clear the routes so that traffic can get through, but then typically contractors to come in and remove the debris, the tree limbs and those kinds of things that are moved off to the side of the roads.
Any timeline on that?
Well, we're still clearing routes, particularly in the center part of the island. Most of the roads, primary and secondary roads around the perimeter of the island, are clear. We've got a lot of roads cleared on the western side of the island, but in the central and eastern parts of the island, up in the mountains, we've still got quite a bit of work to do. I don't have an exact timeline. We've made great progress over the last 3 or 4 days. My instinct is we've probably got about another week at most of clearing routes. The debris removal is going to take a long time. And again, that's not usually a military task. But once we can get the roads clear, it's a lot easier to get big trucks through to all these smaller towns. And the beauty of that is when we get big trucks through that are carrying a lot of food or water, we can move a lot more supplies than we can by air.
Thank you.
Can you talk about the progress when it comes to communication, water, food? How's that going?
I'll give you just an initial snapshot on my perspective, and then I'll let Alice to weigh in as well. So the food, generally speaking, the places that I've gone, even to places that they really, when we're talking about real remote locations, they may not have gotten much support yet. Generally speaking, when I talk to those people, I was in a remote place today, and we gave them some support, and this was some of the first support that they had gotten. They're really hurting mostly for water, less so for food. The food is helpful, but obviously they need water. More than 50% of the island now has access to clean water through the system, but this is one of our highest priorities, is to get water plants back up and running. Because it'll be very important. And most of those that are not up and running, it's because they don't have consistent electrical power. So in some cases, we're using generator power to get the water plants back up and running so that people can have access to water and won't require as much delivery with either bottled water or bulk water.
I believe the general cover the question. I will only add that the number of customers with water and with telecommunications increase on a daily basis. So we hope to, in the next few weeks, to see that number to be acceptable, so we can return to normal operations in Puerto Rico. The electrical grid, we only have 16% of the customers with electric power around the island. So that's going to be a challenge because some of the eastern portions of Puerto Rico, the grid was completely destroyed, the towers, the cables, everything. So they will have to start from zero. And that's our goal, to augment with additional crews coming from the mainland, and also with the support of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that is supporting the Puerto Rico Electric and Power Authority.
Yeah, so just to put a timeline on it with what Alex said, you know, I don't have specific timelines, but my instinct is we're going to get water to everybody in relatively soon. We're getting more and more access to communications through cell phones or whatever across the island every day. And again, relatively soon, we're talking a matter of weeks, a week or 2 weeks or whatever, till most of the people will be back under coverage. But as far as reliable and stable electrical power, it's months instead of weeks before everybody's back on the grid.
Hey, sir, this is Sergeant Major Wells. Can you talk about your staff and what it does in the relief efforts and how it's progressed from August 25th when Harvey hit all the way till today?
Sure. So I'm the Joint Force Land Component Commander for U.S. Northern Command all the time. And we do that, you know, based out of headquarters for 5th Army, U.S. Army North, there at Fort Sam Houston. We do that day in and out, and we do it for all different kinds of missions. So we had the lead from a federal military perspective to be the Joint Force Land Component Command in support of FEMA and the state of Texas for Hurricane Harvey. And then right after that, support Florida and FEMA for Hurricane Irma. Now, when Irma came through, you may remember that Irma was looking like it was going to affect both the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico first before it came into Florida. So my boss, General Lori Robinson out of Peterson Air Force Base, the NORTHCOM commander, made the decision to have the Navy, or her maritime component, lead military operations in support of what was going on in the Caribbean. Well, I did it from a land component perspective in Florida. That worked fine for Irma. And then we saw Maria coming, and again, she maintained the same command relationship. But after Maria came and hit this island, you know, Maria is the 10th largest, 10th most powerful hurricane in recorded history. And this includes storms that never even made landfall. So the impact on Puerto Rico has been completely devastating. And the eye of the hurricane went from the southeast side of Puerto Rico, the length of the island, and exited on the northwest. So virtually every single part of Puerto Rico has been impacted. Power lines down everywhere, trees down everywhere, tremendous destruction everywhere. And based on the impact of Maria, General Robinson said this is going to take much larger effort. And so she knew that a lot of it was going to be required to be land-based operations. So about 2 weeks ago, she made the decision to have Army North move here and take over military operations. And that's really sort of how it's worked. Again, we're in charge of the military effort, but we're not in charge. The Governor Rosselló, is in charge of all operations here in Puerto Rico. FEMA is directly supporting the governor, and the military is directly supporting FEMA.
Yeah, General Sig Christensen here again. This is for both you and for Alejandro. First question is, I'm trying to get a handle on deaths. A man named Franklin Arroyo Sr., whose mother and father live in Caguas. I'll spell it because I'm not pronouncing it right. Caguas. He was just coming back from there Sunday. He told me that the funeral director there said that the number of deaths that they had before the storm and after that each funeral home is handling has doubled or trebled. And he does not believe that the number of deaths has been accurately conveyed to the public, particularly those from the interior. The other question I want to ask is, when did your FEMA people, or when did any soldiers get into his parents' town? Because he said that nobody was there when they came there to bury one of their relatives who had died after the storm.
So again, on the military side, we're not dealing with deaths. We're supporting indirectly the Forensic Institute, but the Commonwealth is in charge of all of that. We've provided some mortuary affairs capability in support of them. I do know the governor talked very early on about getting a confirmation on trying to get certified total number of deaths and what was really related to the storm or not. So I don't know if Alex wants to provide any more. I know you've talked directly to the governor about this.
Yes, the number has increased according to media outlets confirmed by the governor of Puerto Rico. I don't have the exact figure right now with me, but we're working in collaboration with the government of Puerto Rico. Also, we have Health and Human Services, Federal Health and Human Services, supporting the Puerto Rico Department of Health. They also have mortuary teams that are providing support to Puerto Rico, and we continue doing that.
Yeah, and what I can tell you on the personnel in Caguas, we didn't have federal military forces there until several days ago, but the Guard has been there from the very beginning. And just because somebody didn't see them doesn't mean they weren't there. They actually, they've been there and present from the beginning, because Caguas is one of those areas that is part of the major nodes for distribution and supply. And both the Army National Guard and the State Guard have been operating out of there, providing support.
And if I can add, we had, prior to Maria, because we were hit by Irma, and we have, FEMA has a permanent office in Puerto Rico. I'm the director of the Caribbean Division here in Puerto Rico. We had over 1,000 federal employees prior to Maria hitting us, because we were already working with Irma. And we had DOD personnel, FEMA, and other personnel from other federal agencies. So we had over 1,000 federal employees already in place prior to Maria. And the operations, one of our main facilities is in the municipality of Caguas. Our distribution center and our initial operation facility is in Caguas. So there was a large amount of people from the federal government in that area.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we're all clear from this end. Thank you very much for your time. Thank Mr. De La Campa.
Okay, if I could, I'd like to say something. I'll defer to Alex first.
No. Go ahead, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to provide information and to share with the viewers that are listening to us. So I appreciate appreciate that you invited us to participate in your program.
Yeah, thanks. And I just want to, give a shout out to all the people of San Antonio. I know a lot of this is dealing with our various media outlets there. You just need to know you should be very proud of all your military members of all services and components, active, Guard, Reserve, that are here supporting FEMA in this great effort. And the people of Puerto Rico are very resilient. They have a tremendous sense of community and family. That's what it's going to take to get them back on their feet. But even with that, they're not going to be able to do it alone. So we've had great support from people across the mainland, and I'd encourage you all to just continue supporting FEMA, the American Red Cross, all different sorts of NGOs as they help the people of Puerto Rico get back on their feet.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Todo
you.
bien. Gracias.
Thank you, sir.